Hello everybody. In this video, we're going to continue our discussion on selection into one level further. Now this is where we stopped on unary selection. Now let's imagine a scenario in which this teacher has a grading scheme. Teacher is now having to give letter grades. So how the teacher can do that? So we have a grading scheme now. So greater than or equals 90, it's a A, and then a B, C, D likewise. So how can we implement this scenario? Imagine the teacher is having to program this now. Okay. So we can simply use the the binary selection we used. So let's try to apply that. Okay. So I'm going to block this code now. All right, so we can start off with total, and the grade. All right, so now you can start off with if. Okay, and this is straightforward. The first one, the condition for grade A. Okay, so if total, okay, total greater than or equals 90, it's an A. Okay, so grade equals letter A. Okay, now I'm going to use the same binary selection if else. Okay, so else. Now I need to check for the B, right? Letter B, grade B. So I have already done checking for an A. So here I can now check for the greater than or equals 80 part for the B. Okay. So now I need to check it again for a B. So if, okay, now total greater than or equals 80, now it's a B. Okay, equals B. Now if this is also not the case, then that's a C, right? So, and then we need to check for the C scenario. So if, again, I need to check the condition for the C. We already came all the way up to B, so I only need to check whether the total is greater than or equal 70. All right, so grade equals C. Okay, now otherwise we need to check the grade C scenario. So if equals, sorry, greater than or equals 60, now it's a C. So grade C. Oh, it's D. Okay. All right. So now else, now we can actually end this sequence. We have checked all the way up to A, B, C, D. So we only need to, if none of those valid, then basically it's an F. So basically grade equal F. Now, all right. So at the end, we basically print grade. right? Okay, so let's run this segment and then see what comes out. All right, so we got B for total 80. Okay, so it works, but you can see a clear problem here, right? So this is really complicated, and we call this way of writing if else condition is called nesting. So we call it nesting because inside one if else you have another, and in that another one you have another, and you can go on as many you need. But the problem is the coding structure become complicated and hard to read. So is there an alternative to nested if else? Okay, but before that, so let's formulate a syntax for that. Okay, so if, so we are formulating an if syntax for nested if else. Okay, so if, okay, grab some of these, it's easy. Okay, all right, so we have a statement, so we check boolean expression, we have else. Now this is another if boolean statement, and we have statements, and we have an else, and then we have another set of if else. Okay, okay, so then this can go on and on. Okay, and this can go on and on, creating a nested structure. Okay, so you can write it like, okay, so this can go on like that. So now we see that it is complicated and hard to read, and we should find an alternative. The alternative is basically the chained if else conditional. And let's see how we can do that. Okay, so we start off with if, and we check the total 90, and we assign the grade A. Okay, now Python has a different keyword that facilitate this chaining of if else condition. So the keyword is elif. Okay, elif, and now we can check the next condition rather than going into another if else statement. We can check the next condition, in this case letter B. So total greater than or equals 80 and grade equals B. And the next one, we have another elif, so I'm going to copy paste. So basically it's elif means you combine else and the next if and create a new statement. So it's something like that. Okay, you can think of that way. Okay, so else and if combined. Okay, so in this case it's 70. All right, so letter equals C, And we have one more, two more actually, and greater than 60, letter D. Now basically we are at the end, so we end the elif statement, if elif statement, with an else. Okay, so we covered all the scenarios up to D. So what left is scenario for grade F. So F. So now this does the same thing that we did in this code, and you can see that number of lines are less than that, and it's less complicated as well. So let's run it again, and over here, excuse me, oops, I think it should be on top. All right, so I'm gonna block this code. Excuse me. So run this one, and oh, I think I didn't print the grade, so let's print it. All right, okay, got a letter B. Okay, so now let's formulate a syntax for this one. So this is chained if else syntax. Okay, so we start with if and the Boolean expression. Okay, so I'll copy it from here. Okay, and the next is basically elif. Okay, elif, and we check Boolean expression. Let's say 2. I think I should have done the same above as well. I'll make the correction, and then we run statements. Okay, and we can continue like this as many as we need. So 3 and statements, and 4, right, and then finally else statements. Okay, so that's the syntax for chained if else. Okay, okay, and here it's the syntax for nested, and this should be also different Boolean expressions. Okay, all right guys, so there you have it. We formulated the syntax for both nested if else and chained if else Boolean selection.